This episode of the Dance Studio 411 podcast is brought to you by Energize. Are you ready to unlock the tools for studio success? Energize will provide you with the knowledge and resources you need to be successful and to help your studio grow. Hosted by Revolution, Energize features seminars, trainings, and classes taught by industry leaders to address every aspect of your business. Get studio management coaching, take a deep dive into new ways to engage with students, learn proven methods for growing enrollment, and give your teachers the classroom tools they need to provide high-quality dance education. Visit energizeconference.com to learn more.
This is Dance Studio 411, where we answer your real-life questions about your toughest studio life predicaments. Parent problems, teacher turnover, student challenges, policy dilemmas, and so much more. Let's talk about what's keeping you awake at night and what you can do about it. Here are your hosts, Suzanne Blake Garrity and Jill Terone.
Welcome to this episode of the Dance Studio 411 podcast. I'm Jill Terone, and today's episode is full of our top tips to fill your summer camps. These proven methods and ideas are easy to implement and, best of all, can be used all year round. My special guest today is Brad Bingham, founder of Enrollio. Enrollio was built to help solve the pain points at their own dance studio, and now they want to pass along their successes to you. Enrollio is your all-in-one studio assistant that increases enrollment, automates mundane studio tasks, improves communication with families, and solidifies you as the only five-star experience in town. As you will hear today, Brad is passionate about empowering studio owners to stand out in a crowded market. He's also a big fan of automating and making things easier so you can do what you do best, which is teaching your classes and running your studio. Brad, welcome.
Thank you so much for having me, Jill. I'm super excited to be here.
I'm really excited because you definitely speak my language. We are both technology, shall we even say nerds when it comes to technology?
Yep.
Good, because I'm a self-professed nerd when it comes to all this stuff, but I'm all about using technology to automate tasks and be more productive, anything that makes it easier on the studio owner. So that's why you and I get along so well, and I'm really excited to have you here today. So I'm going to have you share a little bit more about your background in a minute, but our connection actually comes through your wife, Hope. Hope has been a longtime dance studio owner member, and she's been here in our amazing community since 2018. So I'm really excited that she's, been here and seen us through a lot of things, and we were able to kind of connect based on Hope's membership in our community.
Yeah, she raves about you guys. I mean, she's spoken about DSO over the years. She's Revolution for life. She loves you guys, and so I know she's always said that your group is full of great content. She's learned so much from you. So very grateful.
Oh, that's awesome. Well, great. Thanks for that, Brad. I know our listeners are anxious to hear how they can fill their camps and classes. But before we dive into that actual content and give those tips, why don't you tell me a little bit more about you, your background, and how Enrollio came to be?
Yeah. So it all started back in 2016. I was actually selling products on Amazon, and we had a software team at the time build this website crawler. We were analyzing product opportunities and was doing very well with that. My wife was building her studio with a bunch of different companies, website guy, marketing agency, SEO person. So one day she comes to me frustrated and she says, I'm putting all this money into these different things. I'm not seeing a huge return. And so I started analyzing the data for everything she was paying for, and she wasn't really getting what she was asking for. Her website person took years to respond. The marketing agency was charging a lot, but they weren't doing a lot. And so I came in on those roles and I learned the back-end needs of the dance studio, hired where needed, web design and optimization, SEO, paid ads. And that's how Enrollio came about, is wanting to build something that can provide all of those needs for a dance studio under one roof. So fast forward, the testing ground was March 2020, as I'm sure so many can relate, with the COVID closures, so many anxious parents. And that's when we realized we had something special here. It was such a saving grace because parents had so many questions about safety protocols, what class is right for their child. We were also doing virtual classes, and so we were hosting that content on Enrollio. We were running ads through Enrollio to that content. We were sending weekly e-sign waivers, which were sent out with automation, which I'm sure you love, before their class. And so this has just been a great system we've built out for us. And now we're trying to help other studios grow and automate.
That's great. Yeah, I know when everything was happening in 2020, a lot of the world really slowed down, but for the dance studio owners, things really got crazy and they had to pivot on a dime and do things very quickly and learn all new skills and technology. So that's really great to hear your story. How did you get so knowledgeable about all of these things?
I'm a self-learner. So my wife and I are just hustle entrepreneurs, just like yourself. And so you learn the system, resources like Fiverr and LinkedIn, finding different people that we needed to build out the things that we need. I'm not a software developer per se. I understand software on a fundamental level, but we have a team for that builds out everything we need. And that's how it is now. You don't have to do that. You can have a team that does that for you.
Great. That's awesome. So let's get into the tips, because I know our listeners are really anxious to hear about how they can be more productive and do better things when it comes to their websites and their systems. So you have 3 tips today. Tip number 1 is being reachable. So why don't you explain to our listeners how they can be more reachable? Because I'm sure they're kind of already thinking, well, you know what? I already am, or people know how to find me, but when it comes to looking at websites, maybe they're not as reachable as they think.
Yeah, for sure. The biggest thing I've learned, Jill, over the last couple of years is that enrolling in a dance class is not like buying a cup of coffee. Parents, you can take them to an external website to enroll, but that's often jarring and confusing, and you expect them to give you your credit card. But a majority of these families we have found have questions. Which class is right for them, for their child? And so we found by looking at Google Analytics data that on average, 85 to 90% of the people clicking that register button on your website to enroll were not enrolling. And that was a huge problem because I think, industry standards like 20 to 30% bounce rate, totally fine. But this was 85% or more. There's a fundamental issue there. And so with Enrollio, we capture their information before they try to enroll on any third-party enrollment site. And if they don't enroll within a few hours, they get an automated text that says, hi, Sarah, this is Miss Hope. I noticed you hadn't signed up yet and want to see if you have any questions. And it's automated, number 1, which is amazing, but it's personalized. And so 9 times out of 10, they reply with, oh my gosh, yes, I did. Thank you so much for reaching out. Because how many times have you been on a website frustrated and then somebody sends you a text and like, hey, did you have any questions? I mean, I would marry that person. I'd think so. Thank you so much.
Yeah, I've had that experience too, where, as a busy mom, I'm trying to do everything and I kind of try to do it as quickly as I can or as on time as I can. But, the reality is I'm doing things 9, 10 o'clock at night because the day has gotten away from me and there's so much to do. And it's really nice to be reminded about things. And it's really nice to have that touch point. Hey, do you have more questions? You know what? I really do. I have this other question and that's what's holding me back. But going back to what you mentioned, the 85% drop rate. That is amazing. And for those of you that are not using Google Analytics yet or aren't looking at the stats on your website, this is your call to go do that. If you can hear us loud and clear, check to see where they're getting stuck. Where are they coming into the website? Where are they falling off? And if you have a lot of people hitting these pages and they're not enrolling, this is what you're mentioning, right? About being reachable. So again, Brad, let's sing it from the rooftops. Don't let them fall off in getting stuck in the registration process, right?
Yeah. And I want to just add to that. It doesn't stop there. And so we want to make sure we follow up with them and take that initiative as a business owner, but we also want to have a good contact form, ideally on the homepage, a free trial class request form. I will say, I know that's not everybody's bag, but for my wife, free trial classes end up being about 30% of enrollments. So take with that what you will. And you need to have a chat widget that ideally captures their contact information so you can text them and email them down the road with promotions and announcement. And so the last part of that is you do need a team member who's going to stay on top of these conversations and converse with your leads, because there's nothing worse than somebody who actually wants to sign up and they're just waiting for a response.
Yeah, consistency is the key. And that's what we've noticed in the last couple of years, especially like you mentioned, coming out of 2020, the way we're doing business is completely different. So people need to be reachable. It doesn't mean that you have to be available 24/7 yourself, but if you have a team member and then you have some automation in place, that's going to help you get through this, right?
Yep, absolutely.
Great. All right. Good tips for number 1, being reachable. Number 2, let's talk about this idea of two-way texting, or SMS being not just one way or the megaphone out, but how is the two-way conversation being made easier with the two-way texting?
Yeah. So I think a big paradigm shift for us was, email today is the modern fax machine. Nobody's reading their emails. You know this with recital season. No one's reading the emails. Two-way texting is what email was 20 years ago. And so, the open and reply rates we see time and time again are exceptional. Texting your families with updates and promotions and being reachable increases retention, wows them. Following up with those new website leads, it just makes such a great first impression rather than everyone sending an email like, hey, you left this in your cart. It doesn't have that same value. And your families want to hear from you. That's the other thing is like, it's far easier to sell someone who's already sold on your service. And so too many studios are not retargeting and they're not trying to reach out to those current families to increase the revenue for their studio.
Exactly. I love the comparison to the fax machine because we just had a conversation this week with our team about people, especially doctors' offices, and I'm sure it has to do with probably HIPAA, but they're still accepting faxes on the regular, and that's how they're communicating. But that being said, it's not so much that way anymore. And going back and, thinking about how we're even using email differently now, it's texting is the place to be, right?
Absolutely. Like if you're not texting with your current families, and I stress the two-way texting, some platforms have a one-way feature where you wonder if they responded to you. You're really missing out on not doing that. You've already sold these families. They're interested. And so we say quarterly, send out a text to your families for summer camps, fall enrollment. After the recital, send one out for Google reviews, but make it personalized. There are studios who would think like, oh, I'm just going to send out this blanket text. And what's great with Enrollio is you can have custom value inserts like their first name, their child's name to make it personalized at scale. And so these families, as a result, are thinking, oh my gosh, I'm getting a text from the business owner. People all the time, my wife are like, Miss Hope, I'm so amazed to be texting you. I don't know if she's logged into Enrollio. Like her team's in there.
Right. And so much of it might be automated or queued up ahead of time. So it really looks like you're being very attentive and really available. But in fact, maybe you're on vacation with your family while the team is helping out, right?
Right.
That's great. Before we go into the third point, I know a lot of our studio owners have mentioned before in our group or when I see them in person, I don't want to bother my families. How much is too much? Am I emailing them too much? Am I texting them too much? So I'm sure you've heard this feedback as well. How do you get either over the fact that our families want to be reminded and they want to hear from us and walk that line of being too aggressive or too in your face or too many messages in these different places? How do you walk the line?
Yeah. So just taking a step back from that question really quick, I think it comes down to being an entrepreneur. You're not going to please everybody. And so like with launching paid ads way back when we started for Enrollio, I was nervous if people would comment or say something mean. And I'm like, you're not going to please everybody. And Hope's great at that. She's like, I'm going to do my best job, but I'm not going to please everybody. And so there are going to be people who opt out, who say, this is annoying, leave me alone. But it's a very minute amount of people that do that. They're just having a bad day. You texted them on a Monday, whenever it may be. But 9 times out of 10, they are going to say, wow, that's incredible. And if you're comfortable with those few that are going to be unhappy to make pretty much everyone else just off to the mood, it's worth it.
Yeah. And like I mentioned before, I think what's really good is consistency. So if you're putting the information on your website and you're sending the email and you're providing the information for your students in the studio or the people who are coming into your waiting room, and then you're hitting them also with the text messaging and reminding, especially we're coming into busy recital season, busy summer season. We're going to start enrolling for fall soon. Those reminders are really necessary because not everybody's looking at the website. We definitely know no one's reading their email anymore. So being able to hit them, meet them where they are. And a lot of them, they always have their phones with them. There's no doubt about that.
Yeah. And I'll just add to that really quick, Jill, that some people want the email. Mm-hmm. Very few of those people, but some of them want the email. Some of them want the text. Others want calls. And so just like you said, having all these different avenues of being reachable is a far better strategy than too few.
Absolutely. Great point. I like that. So let's move on to tip number 3, because this is my favorite of the ones that you are bringing to our listeners. How about you explain to us how you came to say, let's treat your business like a dating profile?
Yeah. So my wife and I met on eHarmony back in 2015. We were both like, yeah, we're just kind of looking around, ended up getting married.
That's a great story. Good story. Love that.
Yeah. So we like to say it's like a dating profile. It really is. I mean, you need to go on Google You need to type in your business and see what images are showing up, what people are saying about you, how you look to other people. I know that that's not something we're inclined to do, but it's really important. I know in the US, at least, you want to focus on Google, Yelp, Facebook, and Instagram, but especially cannot stress Google. That's where most of the traffic is. And what's great too is you can add your own videos and your own images. You can remove the images that are not flattering, because some parents or whoever will just add a photo that's like of a trash can and you're like, that's not my studio. So you can report that and remove it. But that's the biggest thing, is adding your own images, being active on social media. It lets people know that you're alive and well, that you care, that you're in the community. And that's really important also to reply to any negative reviews with class and acknowledgement of a poor experience. Not saying, maybe they're not right, but acknowledging that you're sorry they had a bad experience, because people are watching and they're wanting to see how you respond to that.
I love that. And we have been saying that for years to our members. It's really, really important that you look at yourself on social and you really take the time to Google your business and look it up and see what's happening. Go into an incognito browser, have people super sleuth, friends and family that that you trust, and say, hey, can you take 10 minutes and go on and see what's happening out in the world of, a Google search on our business name. When you go through and you treat your online profile as if it were a dating profile, we know they're out there looking. They're almost interviewing you before they ever reach out. So make it easy for them to see how awesome you are.
Yeah. And also just one other thing to note is I see a lot of studio owners are not claiming their business profile, or there's these companies. If you type in, so on Google, if you go Google My Business and you set that up, there's going to be 10 ads of companies that are going to lock you in and try to run that for you and make it impossible to get out. It's a free thing to do. Set it up with Google directly. But you go in, you claim the profile, and you want to flesh out that information, add images, video, logo. There's a section where you can specify which neighborhoods you service. You want to go, a little farther out than you're comfortable, because then people in those neighborhoods, when they search dance studio near me, you've now opened up your proximity and your reach. You're getting that boost in organic traffic.
Fantastic. Love that advice. So to recap the three things, the great tips that you're providing today, number one is be reachable, be approachable, make sure that it's on your website. So many websites I've gone to, Brad, where I cannot find the contact information. I don't know where they're located. I don't know if they're in Washington State or Washington, D.C. or in my local area. Make sure that you're having very clear indication of where you are located. Directions, your address, click to call, make sure that all of those things are working so that people can really reach out and be easy to contact. Two-way texting, really important. Have those conversations and make them nice and easy. Use some automation to set that up, and then treating your business like a dating profile. So, Brad, great information. Do you have anything else to add before we talk about this great new challenge that you've recently launched and how people can get in touch with you?
There was one other thing about the Google organic reach. I think just fleshing that out, and there's so much that you can add to that profile. But within Enrollio as an option, we have a social planner, so you can post across, which is going to be great. You can do it in one day for the entire month and schedule your content in advance.
Great. Good ways to automate, set yourself up for success. So let's talk about this 5-day Fill Your Camps and Classes challenge that you've recently launched. Tell us more.
Yeah. So this challenge is great if you're looking to level up with your studio. It's 5 days of content geared towards filling your camps and classes, optimizing your website, getting more reviews, automating tasks to reduce workload for you and for your team. Everything you need to become the number one studio in town. And so it's free to join. Includes a 14-day free trial to Enrollio. And it also includes our built-in ads manager. So you can launch ads through Enrollio using our proven templates, whether that's for classes, camps, and all of that feeds right into Enrollio, because I've seen the ads manager over the years. It's just so overwhelming. And so ours is plug and play and easy to use.
Great. I'm going to add the link to that challenge in the show notes. So if you're listening in right now, you'll be able to go in and look at the notes and click right over to the challenge, which is amazing. So Brad, thank you so much for sharing all these easy to implement tips to fill your summer programs and to boost your enrollment all year long. It's really important to go through, take a look at your website, make sure that you're reachable, make sure that it's easy to do business with you. That's what we've said for years. I know I learned a lot today. I hope our listeners enjoyed having these tips. I know that they're going to be really anxious to get in touch with you, so they can go and find the link in the show notes to your challenge. But also, why don't you give a little bit more information about how they can reach you directly?
Yeah, so my contact email is brad@Enrollio. So it's Enroll.io and then .ai. Brad@Enrollio.ai is my email. Website's Enrollio.ai. I know you said in the show notes will be the challenge, but we're very reachable here. That's the biggest thing is you'll get a text from me when you sign up. We have live chat support. We are here as a team member to help you succeed. So
great. We always like providing great information and great platforms for our members so that they can do things more efficiently, more productively, and do what they do best, all while keeping their passion for dance alive. So Brad, thanks so much for joining me today. This has been great, and I look forward to speaking to you soon in the future.
Thank you so much, Jill. This was a pleasure.
Thanks for listening to this episode of Dance Studio 411. Visit us online at dancestudio411.com for more great resources and to submit a question for a future episode. Our number one goal is to help you build a successful dance studio business and keep your passion for dance alive.